Okay, working on getting some things together here. I'm gonna let a few people get in. Okay. If you're in but waiting, I'm gonna be going over Job. So I got a few chapters and verses here. So while you're waiting, that's what I'm gonna be going over. So Job, it's actually the book right before Psalms. Psalms is literally right in the middle of most traditional Bibles, and um, yeah, and it's the book literally right before it. So as I'm waiting for people to come in, if you want to check out Job, that's where we are. So okay, and I'm if you can hear me, if you can put a one in the chat, you can hear me. Oh, thank you, Saida. There we go. I usually start out the videos muted, mainly because you know, um, just giving it a chance to kind of let people get in, and sometimes I'm actually even saying stuff to people that are here in the background. So apologize if I kind of had you off threw you off there, but well, that being said, I am gonna go ahead and get started. But yeah, so we are in the series. We're in the middle of the series, week two of a series called Approved. And if you are on my, if this is your first time tuning in, that's okay. There's obviously plenty to talk about each week, but anything that you're able to anything that you're able to bring, anything that you're able to give, uh, you know, uh, hey, we're going to be going over a lot. So, but if you have tuned in the past, we're going to be we're in the middle of a year long study, literally going through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. If you're behind, that's okay. For one, we just started. For two, um, each one of these videos are on my YouTube channel, No Longer Vain. If you're tuning in on Facebook, I try to include a link on that directly to my channel. And so, like, if you want to start at week one, and I encourage you to do so because this is something I think that really uh, to understand any of the Bible, you really need to read it in its completion. A lot of people want to start at the New Testament, but without the foundation of what they're talking about, it's easy to for one, not understand it. For two, get a different understanding than what they're talking about. So that's literally why what this entire study is about. It's called Approved, based off of the scripture in Second Timothy 2:15, where it says, "Study to show yourself approved." So that's where we are. So we are using we're using um, a plan in the U Version Bible app that it's literally the chronological study of the Bible. If you read, if again on my channel, No Longer Vain, on YouTube, the very first I have playlists, and this playlist is called Approved. You can actually see that you'll be able to see that video, or you'll be able to see the list. Um, the very first one chronologically is called. Oh, Don't Listen to Me. That first video it actually it goes into detail of pretty much everything. There's a link to the app if you don't have it. There's also a link directly to the plan so that you can follow along and so that you can catch up to where we are. What I also do in my videos on that channel is also um, on a weekly basis. I put what scriptures we're going to be coming from during the week as well as the following week. We're on day 14 of that plan, but because of uh, where everything is, I combined kind of the end of last week's reading as well as one day of next week's reading, just because that literally covers the entire book of Job. And I figured it just, there's a lot to just Job's story to get out there with that. So that's what I did as far as with this week. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into the study. I believe, well, my wife Kelly was in, but she dropped off for a second. She probably wasn't sure if she was in or not. But I'll bring her on here in a bit when she tries to get back on. So but that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So um, one thing, I'm also not above reproach. I'm also not above advice. And one of the things that some advice that I was given was to make sure we start and finish everything the right way. And so let's start in prayer of the Most High. Excuse me. Start in prayer to the Most High. And with that being said, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try to make that a practice going forward. Um, One thing in some of my previous videos that we've talked about is when I pray, when I refer to the Most High, I use His name, and His name is Yah. And so when I'm praying, I'll use His name. Um, and so if you look in the King James version, Psalms 68 and 4, I believe. It says, praise him by his name. His name is Yah. In the King James version, it literally says that. Other versions, it translates out his name. It'll say his name is the Lord, but his name is Yah. And so that being said, when I pray, I use that. So as I pray, I'm not praying to any other God, but I'm praying to the Most High of the Bible, the creator of heavens and earth. And so and also his son. And as I pray to him, I'll use, or when I use his name, I use his actual name, Yahusha, as well. So that's those two things. So that being said, let's go to the Most High. Abba Yah, we thank you for all that you've done. We thank you for all that you're doing. We thank you for your many blessings. We thank you um, for this time. I thank you for those who have tuned in today. First and foremost, we ask that um, you be in the midst of this. I ask that you lead me um, to accomplish what you want to accomplish tonight. Um, First and foremost, I ask that you speak through me. The words that are spoken today, I don't want them to be my own, but I ask that you and your word go forth. I ask that this lesson to be not mine but yours. That's all I want. I thank you in advance for what you have in store. And I don't just want you to teach the people that may or may not be listening, but first and foremost, I actually ask that you teach me and to use me for your service. Love you, and I give you all the glory and all the honor and all the praise in the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. And that word HaMashiach, the Messiah, that's what that means. So I'm not trying to uh, cause confusion. So, but that's what that Hamashiach is. It's the Messiah. That's what that is. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So Job, let's start with um, uh, a few things. Let's start with the timeline. Job, he um, he was the timeline of when this was written. Again, this reading is a chronological study of the Bible itself. So notice that if you have followed along, again, if you haven't, that's okay. But when you like last week, we went through pretty much Genesis 1 through I think Genesis 11, and then it cut through to Job. Well, why is that? Well, he's next in the timeline, and And if you read it, you'll see some things that kind of hint at that. So that being said, so he was definitely post flood. You know that because in the chapters he actually there is reference to the flood that destroyed the entire world and how he destroyed the world with water. So there are references to that in Job. So it was definitely post flood. Also, very likely pre Yasharel, which Yasharel is the correct and proper name for what's Israel. But and that's how I'll refer to them. So so that being said, so it was prior to that, prior to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that being said, so you'll see um, in here, you'll see there's a lot to it. So let's go ahead and start it. So let's start with chapter one, and um, and Kellyaz is in here, and um, anytime that you want to chime in, you're more than welcome, and I would love to have it. So, but that being said, let's go and get started. So let's hop to Job or Eov. So Yov. So that's coming in. That's going back to one of the things that's his actual name. The letter J is quite actually wasn't invented until the 1500s. So a lot of the names that are written in the Bible that you'll see um, with the letter J actually would have been more of a Y sound. And so, and also the letter B. A lot of times when you'll see the letter B, a lot of times that's a V sound. There's a lot more to it, but that being said, let's go ahead and start with chapter one, and I'll go ahead and bring up the app or the website that I use in a lot of my videos is Blue Letter Bible, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring that screen up. That being said, here we are. So, um, so there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she asses and a very great household. So this man, so that this man was the greatest of all men of the east. So the man was rich. He had a lot of possessions, and so that's inevitably what we're pointing out. Now, it also said that he was perfect and upright, and he feared Elohim. He feared Yahuwah. So that's something that is established. Now, um, one thing. Um, let's get into some of the pieces of this. Let's see. Let's look up this word perfect right here because again, you know, um, complete, morally innocent, having integrity, one who is morally and ethically poor. And so, well, let's look at that. Complete, perfect, one who lacks nothing in physical strength, beauty, um, an ordinary, quiet sort of person. So I wanted to point that out because when you see the perfect, you think a lot of times when we see perfect, we think um, that we think in the terms of the Almighty, and we think that that means completely without sin. Um, so, but one thing that I wanted to point out in that was where it says morally innocent, the word that was used in there to describe perfect, because again, there are multiple words that can potentially be used for that word perfect. So this specific one is ton, um, and this is actually the Hebrew. When it was written, this is what it would have looked like in Hebrew. So that being said, let's get back to it. So that being said, it says he was an upright man and perfect, as it says, as it used it is the word that was used here. Now, I want to jump a couple verses. It says, Now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah, and Satan came also amongst them. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yahuwah and said, From going to and fro in the earth and walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, and a perfect and upright man, one that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil. So now, here's what's going on. The Most High is in a meeting with, with, you know, all of the, with the angels, and um, he's in a meeting with, uh, the mighty ones, the sons of Elohim. So, you'll see that term used throughout the Bible, which we can get into some more, as far as to what all that refers to. But let's for now say, angels, and obviously in this case, um, Satan himself. So they are literally in his presence. And so that being said, it's then Satan answered Yahuwah and said, "Doth thou fear, or doth Job fear Yahuwah for naught? Hast thou not made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all day, or excuse me, all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the works of his hands, and the substance, and his substance is increased in the land." So basically, Satan is up in here saying, is like, shoot, I mean, why not? Why wouldn't he fear you? I mean, he literally, I mean, you literally have given him everything. Yeah, I mean, you've literally given him everything. I mean, if I was in that situation, I fear you too. And so basically, he's saying, "Dude, the reason he fears you is because you didn't gave him everything, and there's no reason not to fear you because yeah, he hasn't been tested." Well, um, you scroll down, you know, um, verse 12. Yah gives him the opportunity to test him. He said, And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put not thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of Yahuwah. So you go further, you go now to the next few verses. Um, you have multiple messengers that actually come to him. It's like, um, basically all his servants were slain, all his sheep and cattle were slain, um, and all his camels were slain or carried away or stolen. Let's see. And then his children were killed. So literally everything that he had, including his children, was taken away from him just like that. And so now what is the next thing he says? He said, um, verse 20, it said, then Job arose, rent his mantle, uh, and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. Yahuwah gave, and Yahuwah has taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahuwah. So, all this stuff happened, and the first thing that he did was worship. That's a crazy concept when you think of where we are, and I mean, in some cases, how would how would you have reacted in the same way? The first thing, if a bunch of stuff happened to you, would worship be the first thing that be on your mind? Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully so. But there's a lot of pieces of worship that was obviously understood back then. Um, you'll hear, as we go throughout his word, in Isaiah, it says he dwells in the praises of his people. And at that point, he says Yasharel. He dwells in the pieces in the praises of Yasharel. So obviously, there was something that his chosen, those who he loved, that he enjoyed the praise, he enjoyed the worship, and he literally dwelled in it. And you'll see that, as we go, that that's a big thing. So, but we'll get to that. But now here's something I want to see, or here's something I want you to see. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God or Yahuwah foolishly. So he sinned not, and he didn't charge Yahuwah. So, I mean, for one, that would be foolish to charge the Most High. But so there you go. Now, fast forward to verse or chapter 2. It's like, okay, well, same thing. He has another conversation with Satan, and he said, hast thou considered my servant again? And he said, here's the thing, here's the thing, yeah. Is like, you got me on the stuff. We done took away his stuff. He kind of was able to take that. But I mean, the dude still got his health. I mean, he's, you still gave him perfect health. He can handle losing his stuff, but he's, if he's healthy, I mean, he's still, I mean, you take that away from him, and he's definitely gonna curse you. So here we are. And so in the same way, Yah gave uh Satan the ability to take away his health, and you'll see that. Um, and so here you are. But one thing he says, save his life, don't kill him. And so yeah, he put Job through it. He's like, he smote him with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto the top of his head, unto his crown. And so his whole body was full of boils. So if he walked, it hurt. If he rolled in bed, it hurt. Everywhere he was he was hurting. And so now here's what ended up happening. He starts folks actually start turning on him now. And so this is literally his wife. Said his wife said unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse Yah and die. This is his wife saying that. He said, she, man, what you doing? What you holding up for? It's like, I mean, you done been upright and all that for this time. It's like, obviously that didn't work. Curse him and die. Forget it. It's like, it ain't no reason to stay alive. It ain't no reason to to keep your integrity at this point. And so now it says, his response to her. He said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive the good at the hand of Yahuwah? And shall we not receive the evil? And all this, it says, Job did not sin with his lips. A little different than what it said the first time. Now, his wife then turned on him, and now his homies then came over. It says Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Namathite. They came over and made an appointment together to come mourn with him. Now that's something that was very a part of the culture back then. Is mourning. The you heard one of the things when all of his when his children all died, and everything was taken away from him, and everything happened in the beginning. First thing he did, he shaved his head, and if I remember right, it said he threw ashes over his head. That's something that you'll see a lot of times when it came down to mourning. And so that was one of the things that was pretty typical of the mourning process. So now, so that's what happened. And so um at this point, like, these first 7 nights, they saw that he was hurting, and they just kind of let him be. That being said, let's go to now chapter 3. Where are we at from here? Now Job, and understandably so, Job is kind of getting worn out now. I mean, he has gone through days of just torment. I mean, literally, it just said 7 days of him and his home or his homies just sitting there, just in silence. It's like, man, I mean, and he's just in pain this entire time. And so, at least 7 days at this point, it says, after this, he opened his mouth and cursed the day, and cursed his day. Um, as in the day that he was born. He said, let the day perish where I was born, and the night which it said a man child, or there's a man child conceived. He was going through it. And at this point he's like, man, oh, curse the day I was born. This life is terrible. I mean, he's going through it. And as you can see, he's weak. And actually the rest of this um the rest of the this chapter 2 is literally him um cursing the day he was born, complaining. I mean, for good reason. He's going through a lot right now, and he continues. There's an entire chapter, or you get the whole of chapter 3, um talking about his suffering. But now, after him complaining, you got Eliphaz that comes to him, and inevitably his response to Job is not saying, dude, um I'm sorry about that. I mean, that this has to suck, um, or encouraging or comforting him. At this point, he now goes to accusing Job, and that's where he goes. And that's kind of like in the subject it says, "Innocent do not suffer." So now, skip down to um, well, look at verse 7. It says, "Remember, I pray thee, who has ever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same." So basically, he's saying it's like, hey, basically, good folks, good folks, they don't inherit evil. They don't inherit bad stuff. It's like, and that's what he's saying. He's like, hey, you done something that has caused this, and that's where he's going with it. And so that's where they go. They literally they literally get in, or starting with Eliphaz, to accusing Job of basically saying, you done something here. You look at um the next one. He said the Most High is just, which is true. The Most High is just. It's like, hey, it's like, if you um for wrath killeth a foolish man, envy slayeth the silly one. And I've seen the foolish taken root, but suddenly I curse this habitation. And it goes on to say, it's like, hey, evil men beget evil, good man beget good, is what he's saying. And so inevitably they're saying, basically, if you're going through this, you must have done something. So and he'll go on to inevitably telling, I mean, basically they're telling Job um that you need to repent of what you're doing wrong that is causing this. Now, um at this point, Job is um kind of gets to the point. He's like, come on, y'all. um and he even says it a little bit further down. Let's see. Like, my brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream pass away. And he basically, he's inevitably saying, it's like, oh, here we are. um Here we go. um so verse 7, here's a good one. It says, the things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat. He's like, which, as I'm gonna say, as we know, I gotta try to stay away from that. But there are certain things that you're not supposed to touch as far as or and definitely eat as far as unclean meat. Let's see, and let's get past that. But inevitably, is not my helping me, and as wisdom driven from me. To him that is afflicted, pity should be shewed from his friend, but he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty. And that's what he's saying is like my brethren have dealt in deceit or dealt deceitfully as a brook, and the storms of the brooks have passed. Inevitably, he's like saying it's like why are we why are y'all coming at me with this? It's like why are y'all coming at me with all this and instead of comforting me, if you as you see in here, um, instead of comforting me, y'all coming for me. And verse 6 is like, "Is there any iniquity in my tongue? I cannot taste, discern perverse things." It's like, I ain't done nothing. It's like, hey, I've literally, I've acted justly to the Most High. And starting in the next chapter, he straight out says, "Is there not an appointed time to man on earth? Are not his days also like the days of a hireling?" So inevitably, it doesn't matter who you are, you're still gonna die. It doesn't matter just because you're a just man, that doesn't mean that you're going to escape the pains and the sorrows of this earth. And so that's what he's saying. It's like, it's not that. Well, you fast forward, Bildad pretty much goes right along what Eliphaz is saying. It's like, doth doth Yahuwah pervert justice or judgment, or doth the Almighty pervert justice? It's like, and here now, Eliphaz was talking about him and saying, now Bildad is saying, it's like, well, if thy children have sinned against him, and he have cast them away for their transgression. So it's like, okay, well, if it wasn't you, then it must have been your kids. You didn't sin, then it was your kids. And to be honest, if you look at we can go back to chapter 1. That was one of the things that um Job did, is he even he would actually offer sacrifice offer sacrifices on behalf of his children. It said, and it is so when the days of their feasting were gone, about that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of all of them. And for Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed Yahuwah in their hearts." And thus Job did continually. So, I mean, he covered his kids in case that was the case. So there may have been some of that, but either way it goes, um, inevitably, Bildite is going to getting into a very accusatory mode, basically saying that, as if the Most High is a tit for tat type of person. And as Kelly says, they have a very religious perspective of the Most High, almost genie like. Yeah, you do good, he's going to reward good for good. You do bad, he's going to reward bad for bad. As if it's a tit for tat type of a relationship. Well, which is really not a relationship, But it's like, okay, if you do good, then I do good. If you do bad, then I do bad. If praises go up, blessings come down. Uh, which I ain't gonna get into that too much, but uh, he's not a genie, and I think that's yeah, you're right on point right there. He is not a genie. It's not, if you want to get something from him, let's get to the praising him and be good so that he gives you good things. Um, and and that's inevitably kind of the where Bildad goes with it. And to be honest, if you and he does um a similar very similar to what Eliphaz. But now um I'm interested in the titling, how uh the Blue Letter Bible actually words and titles this chapter. Yov says there is no arbitrator between Yahuwah and man. because at that time there was not. As we know that there's some that came later on. Well, I'm saying as we know again. I apologize for that, but that's something that as we read through this, we'll see. Um, as we get into the New Testament. But yes, so there's no arbitrator between Yahuwah and man. Um, and so um, you know, long story short, it's like uh he's saying the Most High does has the power to do whatever He will. I'm gonna kind of because again for uh, lack of time, I'm not gonna go through literally everything of all of it. Zophar does the exact same thing. He also rebukes Job or Job. He also does the same thing. He does the same thing as his other two friends, and Job um, Job responds again, and literally as you go throughout it, you actually see a lot of this back and forth between him and his friends or so-called friends. Um, of this back and forth is like Eliphaz says uh, he presumes much. Again, more of the back and forth, and that's what a lot of this. And one thing that I highlighted actually in chapter 17 that I did want to point on. Ooh, and there's a couple things I want to go to as well. Um, Job chapter 17 verse 6. Um, he hath also made me a byword of the people. And aforetime I was a tabret or tabret. Um, so let's see what this is. What is a byword? Let's talk about it. Let's look at it. Let's look it up. So a byword. Let's the actual word is mishol. Well, just says byword. Let's see. You know what? It doesn't say it in there. Let's go here. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Byword: a person or thing cited as a notorious or outstanding example or embodiment of something. Um, a small or expression summarizing a thing's characteristics or a person's principles. Um, and so, perfect example, and kind of where he's going with this. Um, here we go. A satire, a byword. Inevitably, he's basically saying that um, he's been minimized to inevitably an insult. Job has been referred to as, um, yep, exactly. So he's been minimized to uh, looked at as a something of sorrow. A perfect example, okay, um, and a negative example, and what I think what he's referring to. Because inevitably saying when people think of Job, um, it's not a good thing. So, well, think of it. A byword that is commonly used today that to denote a specific group of people. The N word. The N word is a byword, or and insults that are used for the same group of people. That is a byword. So inevitably, our people here in America and in other parts of the world have become a byword. Um, that's something that also in other parts of the scripture will come full circle. But I'll touch on. I did kind of want to touch on that here in a second. Also, as Kelly says, the sad part at the end of the day, Job likely needed from his friends was a hug and to hear that he was loved. 100%. Yeah, I mean, when somebody's going through stuff, the thing to do is not to continue to tear them down, but it's to either at least comfort him and comfort them and build them up. And that was one of the things that Job's complaint and um and gripes against his friends. One more thing I wanted to point out in verse 15 is another piece that his friends are doing, or one of the things that I believe it's Eliphaz says. Yes, Eliphaz 15 verse 10. Look at this. He says, "We are both gray-headed men and very aged men, much elder than thy father." So inevitably, you're supposed to listen to us, and your comebacks don't mean anything. And hey, we older than you. We're more wise than you because it's like, hey, we been around the block a few times, young buck. So you need to stop talking back to us, your elders. And that's inevitably what they're saying. That's exactly what he's saying. It's like, hey, and he actually comes back to that saying, it's like, yeah, God gives wisdom, or Yahuwah gives wisdom to all, um to different people. Long story short, I'm not going to say to all, but yeah, but he touches on that. It's like, just because you have the age doesn't mean that that is what it is. So we are going to go. We're going to skip forward for time here, but some some other things that I wanted to point on because this back and forth kind of goes on for a while. But I want to get into, I think it's chapter 28, when you start to see the tone change here. Excuse me. Job chapter 28. Actually, it might be the 30s. Here we go. He gets into inevitably talking about himself. He does. He gets into talking about himself in not so many words. And actually, you know what? Let's go to 35 here. Oh, you know what? I went too far. This is Eli who's speaking. Okay, let's back up a little bit. So the older three, um, Eliphaz, um, and the other two, I forgot the names right off the top of my head, but let me get to here. That's 32. So let's get to okay. So 28, 29. Let's back up here. You're gonna see Elihu. There's a little bit of a difference in the way that he actually comes at Job and comes at the other ones. So originally it was just defending himself, but what you're going to see in this is chapter 30. Chapter 30, you'll see verse 17. He also talks about my bones are pierced in me in the night, my sinews take no rest. Again, he's still been suffering. Chapter 31 is when here we are. A war report. Let's get verse 6. Here we go. Let me be weighed in an even balance, that Yah may know my integrity. Let me be weighed in an even balance, that Yah may know my integrity. He gets to talking about um, how good he was, inevitably. Let's go chapter 31. Let's see. Chapter 31. Here, give me a second. I got some highlights in here that I'm having to look up. Give me 2 seconds. Chapter 31. And what inheritance does the Almighty have on high? With strange form dost thou not see us? Here we go. You look at some of the earlier verses. For what portion of Yah is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity. Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? You hear that? Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? Inevitably, he's kind of getting into now here some of the similarities of what his friends are saying. It's like, yo, he's like, it's like, hey, I've been a good dude. It's like, you talk to him, it's like, let him weigh it for me. And in like in verse 6, he actually his tone actually starts to change. And to be honest, this is something sadly but surely happens to all of us. I can tell you it has happened to me. It's like you know you get weighed down just off of people coming at you and consistently coming at you, and that um, it turns into bitterness. A lot of his earlier responses to his friends were just based to what they're saying. And after coming back to them about, it's like, hey, this is not based off of something I did wrong. He now, if you see, his tone actually starts to change, and he actually starts to inevitably say, it's like, hey, I done this, I done that, I done this, and I done that. And he even starts to, and actually you'll see it in a couple of the previous chapters as well. He actually starts to um, literally say, "Hey, Most High, like, hey, let Him judge me." Well, ergo, in come Elihu. Elihu is a different kind of dude, and he actually comes a lot different. He let the other three finish. He's like, so these three men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. That was a big piece right there. He was righteous in his own eyes. They saw it, but inevitably the way that they were coming at him was not right. But then Elihu comes in, because this right here is like, then was kindled the wrath of Elihu, son of Barashel, the Buzite, of uh, the kindred of Ram, against Yov, and excuse me, against Yov was his wrath kindled, because he justified himself rather than Yah. But then also against his three friends was his wrath kindled, because they had found no answer, and yet had condemned Yov. It's like, y'all ain't got nothing, but yet y'all condemning him. So he's not just mad at Yov, but he's mad at his friends as well, because y'all inevitably accusing him for no reason. And so, but here he says, now Elihu had waited till Yov had spoken, because they were elder than he. So he had a level of respect. He's like, yeah, he had a level of respect. He's like, hey, y'all older than me. Here he goes. He says it in verse 6. He said, um, he's like, I am young and you are old, wherefore I was afraid, and durst not show you mine opinion. Like, I was not gonna speak, because hey, y'all older than me, and I was like, I didn't want to butt in here. But I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a ruach in man, which spirit, and the inspiration of the Almighty also, or giveth them understanding. So, and what he's saying is like, yeah, years is not the only thing that's going to teach you wisdom. I mean, how many of y'all know some old foolish folks? You know, you ain't got to put it in the chat. You ain't got to bust out nobody's name, but you get the point. It's like, I mean, I think everybody knows somebody who's old that who is supposed to be shown wisdom, but instead, they are just as foolish, if not more foolish, um, than the average Joe, and have not grown in wisdom as they've gotten older. Um, and scrolls down here, as I scroll down, it's like, let me not pray you accept any man's person, give or neither let me give flattering titles unto a man. And so he's saying, like, I'm not gonna refer I'm not going to um yes. Yeah, I'm not gonna give anything to you just simply because of who you are. So long story short, he's about to give his now. It's like, here we go. And verse 4, and the spirit of Yah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. And actually in the previous verse, he said, my words shall be uprightness of my heart, and my lips shall utter knowledge clearly. And here he goes. He says, if thou canst answer me, set thy words in order before me, stand up. He's telling Job, his elder, he's like, stand up. Here we are. He's like, behold, I am according to thy wish in Yah's stead. I also am formed out of the clay. And here he says, verse 9, I am clean without transgression. I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he findeth occasions against me, he counteth me his enemy. He putteth my feet in rocks, he marketh all my paths. And he's referring to um verse 8. He's like, surely thou hast spoken in mine hearing, and I have heard the voice of thy words saying. And this is what he's saying. Like, this is what you said, Job. It's like, and so behold, in this thou art not just. I will answer thee, Yah is greater than you. It's like you can say all the good things that you got to say about yourself, but you measure yourself up to Yah, which inevitably you have brought him into this. He's greater than you. You have no ways uh calling him to the stand. And so and he gets talking about the most high is um like then he opened the ears of man and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide the pride of man. And he's saying all the great things that Yah can and has done. And here's he says, he brings all of this and he says, if thou hast anything to say, answer, speak, for I desire to justify thee. If you hearken unto me, hold thy peace, or if not, hearken unto me, hold thy peace, and I shall teach thee wisdom. And notice so far, Job does not have a response. And at this point, he vindicates the Most High's justice. Um, here we go. Here's another piece right here, verse 9. He says, uh, here we are. Well, verse 8. Which here we go. What man is like Job, who drinketh up scorning like water, which goeth which goeth company with the workers of iniquity, and walketh with wicked man. For he hath said, it profiteth a man nothing, what should delight, or what that he excuse me, it profiteth a man nothing that he should delight himself with Yeah. Um, 34:17. Um, Thou hast understanding, hear this, hearken to the voice of my words. Shall even he that hateth right govern? And wilt thou condemn him that is most just? So he's saying, you're gonna you think you have some ways to talk about the most highest judgment? Is it fit to say to a king, thou art wicked, and to princes that ye are ungodly? How much less to him that accepteth not the persons of princes, nor regardeth the rich more than the poor? For they are all the works of his hands. And he's coming after Job. He's like, hey, um, you done came at the wrong one. Like, in a moment they shall die, and the people shall be troubled at midnight and pass away, and the mighty shall be taken away without hands. For his eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his going. So, verse 35. Let men of understanding tell me. I'm in verse 34, of course. Let men of understanding tell me, and let a wise man hearken unto me. Job has spoken without knowledge, and his words were without wisdom. My desires that Job be tried unto the end because of his answers for wicked men, referring to his three friends. Those were his um those were his that was his condemnation against them. For he addeth rebellion to his sin, and he clappeth his hands amongst us, and he multiplieth his words against Yah. And so this is Elihu speaking. Well, um, is is Elihu just? Because again, he's also coming after Job. Well, let's see what the Most High says, because Elihu also has 3 chapters against it, or a few chapters. Here we go. Now, here is the Most High. You get to chapter 38, and now the Most High has something to say. Let's see what he says. Oh, okay, same thing. But yeah, so the Most High has something to say now. And Yahuwah answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that has darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee and answer thou me. Now, we're gonna go back to verse 3. It says, or we're gonna go back to the beginning of this. It says, gird up thou loins like a man. What is he saying here? I don't know who's listening to this, who's watching this, but I'm gonna bring this back a few years. Um, Inevitably, what he is saying is, "Nuck if you buck." He is saying, "Hey, throw up them dukes." He's like when he says that, gird up thou loins, gird up your loins. Inevitably, he's saying, "Hey, let's go." I mean, you tough. Hey, throw your dukes up. Hey, you talked all that stuff. Keep that same energy. Let's go now. It says, where wast thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? If thou hast understanding, if thou hast understanding, um, you came after me. It's like, hey, let's keep that same energy now. Like, where were you when I formed the earth? Um, who hath laid the measures thereof? Who knoweth? Who has stretched up? Who or who hath stretched the line upon on it? And he keeps going on and on. It's like, Where were you when I did this? Where were you when I did that? And keeps coming after Job because at this point you done came at me. So it's like, hey, let let's let's now you done challenge me. Let's bring it. Um, whose hands have I made, or whose hands? Excuse me. Who has sent who has sent out the wild ass free, or hath loosened the hands of the wild ass? Whose house have I, or I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling? He scorneth the multitude of the city, neither regardeth he crying the driver. Um, and all of this stuff, he's like, where was you when I did this? Um, do you realize who you talking to? Moreover, Yah answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth Yah, let him answer. And so he said, hey, you called me here. You wanted me to now judge you. Here you are. He said, let him answer. And now Job, with his head tucked between his legs, I'm sure there was a little stutter or two in here. He said, but behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay my hand upon my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. I will not answer. Yea, twice. I will proceed no further. What does most I say to him? It's like, then answered Yah out unto Job out of the whirlwind and said, uh-uh. As I said before, gird up down, gird up your loins, nook if you buck. It's like you was talking all hard. Keep that same energy. It's like, no, you ain't just about to. As you was talking, you brought me into this. It's like, no, don't be quiet now. I'm going to ask you questions. You need to answer me. It's like, no, you ain't just about to be quiet. Keep that same energy as you had before. And so, and he goes into, behold now behemoth, which I have made, he eateth grass as an ox. Lo now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. He moveth like a cedar, his sinews of his stone. His bones are as strong as pieces of brass. He is the chief of the ways of Yah. He that he that hath made him can make his sword to approach unto him. And so, this is what the Most High, he's like, hey, I got this power here. And what with all of this stuff, what you got to me now? Here we are now. Job now gives this answer. He says, "Now you see the heart turn." He said, and Job answered Yah and said, "I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore, I uttered that excuse me, have I uttered that understood not things too wonderful to me which I knew not. Here I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I have heard of thee by hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee. Therefore I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes." Now, did it he did ask for forgiveness, but what did he also say? He said, I repent. I'm going to turn away. I'm turning back to you. Now, in his repentance, where did the Most High go? Now, the Most High had his back. The Most High had his back now because now that he done took care of Job, the original one that came after him, here he goes. And it was so that after Yah had spoken these things unto Job, Yah said unto Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job hath. Now, did he say anything about Elihu? He didn't. Elihu judged him justly. Yep. But of what were their names? His original three friends. It says it was over chapter two. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. That's who he's talking to, and that's who he's talking about. He says, so he said, against my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends. So those three, not Elihu. Therefore, take unto you 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering, and my servant Job shall pray for you. For him will I said, lest I deal with you after your folly, in that ye have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. So he's saying it's like I'm not going to accept your burnt offering. You go talk to Job and ask him to pray for you. You go talk to Job and ask him to sacrifice for you, because I ain't got nothing to say to y'all. If he'll do this, then I'll accept it. And so Eliphaz the Temanite and Bilhad the Shuhite and Zophar the Naamathite went and did according as Yah commanded them, and Yah accepted Job. Did it say Yah accepted all of them? Like, no, he accepted Job. He accepted Job's. He accepted Job intervening for them. There we are. And what happened? Liberation. And Yah returned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. And also Yah gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then came there unto him all his brethren and all his sisters, and they had been of his acquaint, or excuse me, and they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did not eat, uh, and did eat bread with him in his house, and they bemoaned him and comforted him over all his evil that Yah had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and everyone an earring of gold. So let's talk about money real quick. First of all, it didn't say they gave him a green dollar. That's not what money was back then. And in reality, it wasn't. It really hasn't ever been. They gave him riches. Riches were, money at the time, what you could buy things with. It would have been gold, it would have been silver, it would have been usually precious metals and so on and so forth. So when it refers to money, that's usually what it's saying. Let's see if it um let's even go in here. Payment a piece of money. Oh, I went to the wrong thing. A piece of money. Here we are. H7192. It's Kisi Tall, a unit of unknown value, um, perhaps weight money. And so inevitably, um, again, based on how the value of the gold or silver was done, it was based off of weights. So how much it was. So kind of similar to gold today, you have carats of diamonds. You have 24 karat gold and so on and so forth. It's based on the weight of that piece of whatever it was, gold, silver. Here's other places to where that word comes up. So you see 7192, piece of money, piece of silver. Here you are. And so there you are. So that's what that's referring to. Um, Getting back to the text again, but here it is. It says, "And Yah blessed the latter end of of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels, and a yoke of oxen and 1,000 she asses. And he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Jemina, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen. And all in the land were no men, or excuse me, were no women found as so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. And after this lived Job 140 years and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So Job died being old and full of days. So yeah, there are so many pieces that have gone in here. You get into the beginning. First of all, understanding that um, the Most High. Um, Sometimes some of the things that happen to you are not simply because of the wrong that you've done. Some of the bad things that have happened are not because of the wrong that you've done. On the other hand, some of the good things that happen to you are not because of the good you've done either. Um, but Yahuwah gives and Yahuwah taketh away. But that being said, is one of the things that was revealed in Job was, although that his actions were right, he had some work to do. All that you just because although your actions are very important to the Most High, you got to have your heart right. And that was a big thing with Job. There was some heart posture that had to be worked on with Job. Um, that being said, another piece: when somebody else is going through it, don't go beating them up. Don't be like Job's friends or Job's acquaintances, because those were not real friends. It's like, don't be like Eliphaz. Um, yeah, don't be like Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. Don't be like them. Somebody's going through something. Um, there's a time and a place for everything. That ain't the time to start beating them up. But on the other hand, when your brother does err, make sure your justice is right. When you do when it because there is a time as well to correct. And when Elihu corrected, Yahuwah came and had his back because his judgment was righteous and his heart was right in his judgment. Judge with wisdom, judge with a right heart. But on that, um, do not when you're going through stuff. I know there's a thing out there of blaming Yah and coming after Yah. And I've even heard some people say it's okay. It's not. Trust me, you don't want that smoke, because when you start coming after Yah, let's just say he's somebody that can defend himself and can defend his justice. Um, it is okay and it's natural to be weakened and at a weak point, but in that, realize who the Most High is, and that's one thing that's important about that relationship. Even in your weakest times, keep your love for Yah. Another piece, like in chapter 2, or chapter 2. Don't be like his wife. Don't be that other person. Curse God, curse Yah, and die. Don't be that person. If those that are closest to you are going through some stuff, don't be the one that encourages him, or that encourages them to sin against the Most High. Don't be that person. But on the other end, um, this shows Yah's restoration, Yah's grace. See, this is one of the common misconceptions that is told in the Bible that basically as if grace and mercy started in Matthew 1 and restoration like that started in the New Testament. No, it did not. And you'll see that as we go forward, but here early on you see it in Job. After Job repented, after Job repented, turned away from his sin and turned back towards the Most High, first of all, he came after those who came after him. He came after those who came after Job. You know, he came after those who came after Job. He did that. But what also did he do? He restored. He restored Job to not just what he had, but more than what he had before. As Kelly said, it's like in reality, we aren't deserving of any of these experiences, good and bad. Our very existence is a gift from Yah. Every breath that we take is a blessing. Every move that we make, everything that we have is of Yah. One thing that he said in chapter 1 said, "Naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return to thither. Yah giveth, Yah gave, and Yah hath taken away." So if he took it away, it was his in the first place. He took away what he had already given, and that's something to remember. It's like when Yah, um, he has the ability to give and take away of his own possessions. Don't get beside yourself and think that what you have is yours. Getting into the New Testament, you hear uh, Paul talk about you're not your own. Honor Yah with your body. Everything that He has everything is His. The earth is His and the fullness thereof. And yes, His will be done. And to be honest, that's even what His own Son prayed, was that His will be done. So that being said, um, that literally was the entire chapter or the entire book of Job. Um, Part of this, if you're in the reading plan, um, I added that onto this video, but technically that's day 15 of the plan, so which would start tomorrow. Also touching in to the end of last week's plan. Um, Next week we'll be getting started on. We're pulling up a plan right now. Actually, it's going to take us back to Genesis, and remember, this is chronologically. So this plan is actually in order of how um, things actually happened in the timeline, literally of the world. So we started with creation. We got to the flood. Now we then got to the life of Job. Next week is actually going to start Genesis 12. So you got Genesis 12, which actually starts out Abraham. So you start to get into his life, um, and um, we're gonna finish up. I believe we'll finish up Genesis, most of Genesis. So so day 21 is where we're gonna finish out, which will be Genesis 29 coming next week. So and we'll get into all of that content come next week. So so as always, I thank you guys for joining in. If this is something that has blessed you, if it's not me, it's the Most High. Again, as I asked in the beginning, that He used me, He speaks through me. So it's not my words; it's the Most High's words. And um, but if it is something that has blessed you, please like my video. Please check out my YouTube channel as well. There's additional content on my YouTube channel. This is a part of a larger series. If you are just tuning in today for the first time, if you can actually check out some of the original videos as well. This is a part of a longer plan. The very first the very first video of the plan is um, actually gets into kind of the introduction to the plan. It gets into the resources of the app that we're using, and all of that. It's called Approved. So if you're on my YouTube channel, go ahead and put up Approved, or go ahead and look up the Approved um, playlist. You'll see video one. It'll take you all the way through this week. You'll see um, yeah, you can, and you can follow the plan from there. Also, if you can like this video and then also share it with others, and there's something with each part of Yah's word that we all can learn from. So, and then if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're on Facebook, the link is in the description. And in the end, I thank you all and blessings to you all. That being said, let's go ahead and give thanks to the Most High. Abba Yah, we thank you once again um, for your word today. We thank you for your word as always. We ask that you continue to be with each and every person that is represented here. We ask that you um, continue to let this word not die with this phone or with this video. Let this what those that have listened, um let this not be the end of it. Also, let what I'm saying not be the end of it. I ask that you use this as a time to where that it encourages people to seek for themselves and not just listen to me, but to go out and seek you for themselves, not to listen to my words, but to go and learn you for themselves. I thank you in advance for what you have in store, and in the end, let your will be done. And I thank you for this. These and all of the blessings I ask in the mighty name of Yahushua Hamashiach, your Son. Hallelujah. Again, thank you guys. Love you guys. Take care.